Yay. I feel like I'm doing this for Manya. So, hi, Manya, because she's gone. She's gone for a while. She's very sick. So, here's what we're doing. It turns out that guy right there is an ugly version of just a basic parabola. Just a basic parabola. There's nothing special about him. If you plugged him in, he's the easiest parabola there is. And he has a name. He is called, in math language, he is called a parent function. And you don't have to write that down. He's called a parent function. And what that means is that's the basic shape. Anytime you have an x squared graph, it's a u, right? That's the basic shape. Next chapter, we're going to do ones that look like this, y equals x to the third. And you know what their basic shape is? They're like a lightning bolt or an S. They look like that. And that's called the parent function. That's the shape of it. It will always look like a funky little S or a lightning bolt, a little Harry Potter action happening there, right? But this one, what we've been doing, parabolas, it's a U. And you know what's been happening this whole time? We've just been messing with this guy. Sometimes when we graph him, watch this, I'm so clever. I'm so proud of myself. Sometimes when we graph him, we put him over here, right? Yay, and he looks like that. And sometimes when we graph him, we move him down here. And we're like, yay, he looks like that. And sometimes when we graph him, oh, you know what's coming, right? I'm so excited. He looks like this, right? He's upside down. And sometimes he's upside down over here, and sometimes he's upside down over here, and he's upside down over here. That's what happens. And the way that happens is that we have different numbers that show up in the equation, and they move this guy around, right? That's the whole point of this. So what we're going to talk about today is specifically when I have more numbers in that thing, what do they do to the graph? How do they move that graph around, right? And the reason that we do that is that we're eventually going to graph that bad boy. That's second semester. Look how scary he is. But it turns out, if I know his basic shape, and I'm actually going to show you what his basic shape is. He looks kind of like a shooting star. He looks like that. If I know his basic shape, and I know how to shift him around, I can graph it really, really easily, right? So that's why we teach this. It's weird. You're going to be like, what? Some of your geometry teachers were really good about talking about this last year. Some of your algebra teachers covered it. Some of you didn't. So our job today is to look at this equation and think each of these numbers has a job. And what does each of those numbers do? That's what we're going to talk about today. Okay? So here we go. We're not going to quite write everything down. I am going to show you on my friend Desmos what each of these bad boys does. Okay, so here's my very first thing. That is the mom graph. That's it. That's a basic parabola, right? He looks normal. So the first thing that we can do to mess with him is we can put a number in front of him. So I'm going to come over to my little computer over here. Look at me like a regular teacher. La, la, la. I'm going to put a 4 in front. Does anyone have a guess at what's going to happen to this guy when I put a 4 in front of him? Any guesses on what's going to happen to this U? Is he going to turn upside down? Is he going to move side to side? Just a guess. Anyone know? What do you think? I think it could go up 4. Anyone else have any other guesses? Could it go side to side 4 maybe? So let's see. We're going to put a 4 in front and see what happens. Watch, there it is. There's my X. Ah, look what it did. It made him really skinny. It made him super, super skinny. Anyone guess if I put a 6 there, what's going to happen? It's going to get even skinnier. Watch what happens on this guy. Look how skinny he is now, right? The number in front tells you how skinny your graph is. Anyone have a guess at what's going to happen if I maybe put a fraction into this bad boy? Someone says, anyone got a guess? It's going to get really fat. Watch what happens. I love this guy. So I'm going to put a 1/3, but then I have to actually show it with my things right there. Look how fat he got. So it turns out that number in front, the bigger that number is, think of it like someone is stretching your graph, like they're grabbing its little arms and they're ripping them out of the sockets, right? The harder they pull, the more they stretch their arms up. And if it's a fraction, they're pushing down on their arms. And the bigger like the smaller that fraction, 1/10, 1/20th, it just makes him super, super fat. Yeah. Great question. Do you have a guess?
No.
So remember how we talked about happy and sad graphs? Watch what happens when I have a negative in front. Y equals negative. Look what it does. A negative flips him upside down. That's what he does. Doesn't matter if I have a 4 in there, that just makes him skinny upside down, right? So the number talks about his fatness and skinniness. The positive and negative flips him upside down. Okay, here's another thing that we do sometimes. Sometimes we put these guys in parentheses. So check this guy out. So I'm going to go like this, x plus 3, and I'm going to go there, and I think I can do it like this. Look what it does. When it's in a parenthesis over here, it moves it side to side, right? Because remember, that's where we get our x vertex from. So it moves it side to side. But look what happened. It was a plus 3, and it moved it to the negative side. And if it's a negative 3, guess what it does? It moves it to the positive side. Remember, the stuff in the parenthesis is naughty. It's moving it the wrong way. Like it's like, hey, that's a negative, but it moved it 3 over. Yeah.
How would it like move on like?
It's like you and I called each other and we planned this. When I add stuff at the end, that's the y vertex, right? So it moves it, check this out, up and down. So if I add a 4 up, it moves it up 4. And if I do a negative 4, oops, let me put that in, negative 4, it moves it down 4. So what our job today is going to be to do is I'm going to give you an equation, and you're going to tell me what's happening in that equation. But I'm going to give you real math terms. Are you guys ready? So flip your paper over. Or, to be honest, so here's what I'm using the arms for a second. Here is, this is a helpful thing, right? But I'm going to give you kind of the Mrs. Tarantino words for it, and there's more room over here if you want to do that, right? So we're going to talk about the math terms. There's no math in your homework tonight. It's all right. And it's really easy. Like you'll be done in like 5-10 minutes. Super, super fast. Okay, here we go, rock and rollers. Okay, so every one of these babies, let me move this a little bit. Hold on a second. Am I missing anything? I'm going to add, hold on. Let me add okay, here we go. So every one of our parabolas has this guy. It looks like this. Y equals blank x plus blank squared plus blank, right? Every problem we've done has these spots in it, right? We're going to talk about what each of these spots do. Now, officially in math, they put letters on here. Zane, if you're bored and you want to head to the library, you can do that if you want. Yeah? Oh. So here's what they call it in math terms. They call this guy in the front A. They call this guy in the parentheses H. And they call this guy K. Right? But that's not that important. I'm not going to worry about A and H and K. I'm just going to tell you what each of their jobs does. Right? So let's first talk about the space right in front of A, because there is a space. So the first thing that we want to talk about is the space in front of A. And it has a job. If there is nothing in front of A, that means it is positive, right? And if it's positive, it's a happy graph, right? It's a happy graph. It's going up. But if the space in front of A has a negative sign, it's a sad graph. And I'm going to give you the math term for a sad graph. We call that being, you're going to write this down, reflected over the x-axis, right? So if we ever have a negative in the front, right away you're telling me, oh wait, Miss T, that's a sad graph. It's been reflected. The sad is what Mrs. T calls it. Reflected is what the real math term is. So that's the first thing that we're going to talk about is when we look at these equations, has it been reflected? Sometimes it's no, it's just regular, it's happened. But sometimes it's been flipped. Is that cool? That's the first thing we look at. And it's right here, right? That's number one. Okay. I'm going to get a new color, so I'm going to erase this. Is that okay with everybody? So the second thing that we look at is we look at the number in the front, and I am going to write that in red. It's this guy right here. And the second thing we talk about is the A itself. That is the number in front of parentheses, right? Don't make me spell that right, okay? Number in front of the parentheses. So here's the deal. He makes him really, really skinny or really, really fat, right? He's our skinny fat guy, right? But we don't in math call it skinny and fat, right? Because you know they don't. He's got a name, and that name is called, if it's really, really skinny, that's called, and you're going to write this down, a vertical stretch, right? A vertical stretch. And that's because you're stretching it up, right? It's a vertical stretch. And that is if it's a big number, like bigger than 1, like 2 or 3 or 4. If it's just nothing, it's just regular. It's not stretched at all. So that's a big number. If it's a fraction, it's been compressed. It's called a vertical compression. And that is a fraction. And you'll see when we practice these, you're like, oh, it's super easy, right? So it will either be nothing, which is regular, or it will be vertically stretched or vertically compressed. Am I good with that? Everyone cool with that? Yeah? Okay. Let's move to the inside parenthesis guy. Can I erase? Everybody got this? Yeah. Am I waiting? I'm totally full. How many people remember this from last year or the year before? A few? Seen it a little bit? Yeah. Some geometry teachers redid it. And sorry about that. It's going to come fix it for you. Okay, here comes the next one. La la la. Okay, the next guy, let's do him in purple. I'll do him in green. Is the guy in the parentheses. So I call him the guy in the parentheses. Guy in parentheses. And in math terms, is it cis like that? Is that right? They call that H, right? We call it H. His job moves it side to side, right? He's the side to side guy. So that would be Mrs. Tarantino would call it side to side. But you know in math, they've got a fancy name for it. And you know what he's called? He's called a horizontal, that's side to side, horizontal shift. It's called a horizontal shift. And the only thing you got to remember is he's naughty, right? He's the naughty guy. So he does it opposite, right? So he does it opposite. So if it is positive, if it's a positive number, it's going to move to the negative side. It's going to move left. And if it's negative, it's going to do the opposite. And it's going to move right, right? Remember, this guy is naughty. He's a pain in the ass. That's why we put him in timeout, because he does it opposite, right? We're almost done. We're at our last number. And I always feel bad for Kay. I feel like he's like the leftover guy. He doesn't really get an exciting job. He's got no stretching or compressing. He's not naughty. He's just the last sad guy. So I'm going to give you a minute if you're still writing. Okay. So the very last guy is K. I'm going to put him in black so we know what's going on here. Here we go. Right here, this guy, he's K. And you know what K does? Number 4, K, you know what he does? He moves it up and down. He's the up and down guy. And you know what? He's not even like fun. He's not opposite. He's just normal. And we call that a vertical, because that's what vertical means, up and down. Vertical shift. And if it's positive, it goes up. And if it's negative, it goes down. And it's super not even like, ooh, interesting. It's like, nah, it's pretty straightforward. So here's what we're going to do tonight, in your homework tonight. So easy. We're going to practice a few of these. Literally, I'm going to give you an equation, and you are literally going to have, I have a little list, and you're going to tell me what's happening along that list. And it's that easy. It's like, literally, it's just getting the vocab down. That's totally it. So here we go. I made little happy faces to let you know that there's 4 possibilities. Sometimes nothing's going to happen, and that's okay too. So here we go. The first one I start off with, for me, I go in order because it's easiest for me, because that way I don't mess anything up. I look in the very front, and the very front has a negative. So what does that tell me? He's sad. And the word we use for sad in math now is reflected over the x-axis. Oh my God, like you guys actually know what's happening here. So you're going to write, he is reflected over x-axis. Honest to God, this is as hard as it gets. So now we're going to move to the next guy. And the next guy is this dude right here, which is the 2. And his job is to tell me what? Vertical stretch, skinny or fat, right? And this guy is a number bigger than 1. So he's being so close. Stretching. We're vertically stretching it. And we're going to say he's being vertically stretched. And we're going to say by 2. Some teachers say by a factor of 2. I'm not worried about that. Just by 2. Okay. We're getting down there. So now we got 2 more things to do. Let's look at this dude right here. This dude right there. He's got a job. What's his job to do? Right and left. He's our horizontal shift. You got it. And so here's what we're going to say. Now he goes opposite. He's not going 4 in the negative direction because he's naughty. He's going 4 in the positive direction. That's to the right. Is that right? Am I looking at that right? Is that right? Okay, tell me that. So he's going to go horizontal shift right. And you know how many he's being shifted? 4. And if you want to get fancy and put 4 units, you can. But you could just put 4. And our very last guy, here we are, we're at the very last guy. Let's see if I've got any more colors. I got red, I got, let's see. I have 1, 2, 3, what am I missing? The yellow, the blue, the green, the green. He's awful. There you go, the green. He's the easiest. He's just vertically shifted up. And you know what? He's straightforward. So vertical shift up 3. And can I be honest? That's as hard as it gets. That is literally the hardest one. That's the one that's got everything. Some of them you get to skip stuff because nothing happens. But that's as hard as it gets. The only thing that's tricky is knowing these words. And you have 4 days to get these words in your little head. So Friday, right? So you guys want to try another one? Let's do it. Yay. Here we go. Let's take a look at this one. Sometimes stuff isn't happening, and that's okay. Is this guy being flipped over? Is he a sad face graph? No, there's no negative. So you know what you can do? Just not put anything. Just leave it blank, right? Or leave it at the end. I don't care, right? I'm just putting these dots for you to know that there are 4 possibilities. You don't have to use all 4. How about, is there a number that's stretching him or compressing him? Is there a number right there that's happening? No, there's not. So you know what we put for that? Nothing. Nothing. And that's okay. He's just regular. He's just a regular parabola. But he is being shifted to the left, right? So we're going to say I get that wrong. Every time I'm stupid. Horizontal shift left 1.
Ava and Olivia for like a really quick.
Olivia's not here, but you can take Ava.
Oh.
And then finally, he's got a vertical shift down 6. That's it. That's it. That's it. Can you do me a favor? Can you try number 3 on your own? Can you try number 3? There's going to be some stuff that skipped, and that's okay, right? Try number 3 on your own. Well, I was good, man. I had to roll today. And you guys were great. Super, super quiet. Super appreciate letting me get through it all. But it's easy. Manya, you still with us? I feel like I'm talking to her at home. Some people on the skipped ones, they put them in order. Like, there is no real order. I make that order up because it works for me. But in real life, you can put them in any order. But for me, if I do it in the way I hit it, I don't leave stuff out, right? But it's not wrong if you put your first thing on that first happy face, like, that's not wrong. And like in real life, like, there are no happy faces. I just do that to help you. Like, that's just me doing that for you. Okay, you guys ready? Here's what I got. I got no flip, right? I got no flip. So you can either cross off this guy or you could cross off that guy, whichever works for you, right? It's cool either way. You do what you got to do. But I got no flip. Next one. Be careful on this one. This is not a vertical stretch. It's a vertical compression, right? It's a fraction. It's being squished down. So it is vertically compression, a vertical compression by 1/3. And that means if you were going to graph it, so here's what's crazy. After all these years, after 35 years, I can eyeball that, and I can look at your graph, and I know right away whether it's right or not, by whether it's fat, by whether it's shifted over, because I know what each of those numbers does. Maybe you'll get to that point, because you'll be nerds. How about left and right? Do I have some left and right action happening? Yeah, I do. So he's going to be horizontal shift. He's going to the left 2 units. And let me ask you this, is he being moved up and down? No. So you could just leave it off. Just leave it off. Yeah. Last one I want to do, and then I'm shutting up and I'm giving you your homework. How about this? Could you go backwards? So I am giving you this. Can you please, my sweet little lambs, my little sweet potatoes, can you please fill this out and tell me what goes where? Give it a try. This is the second to last one. So can I give you the words and say, hey, here's what's happening to my graph. Can you write the equation, which is pretty crazy, that you don't even need the picture. I can just tell you what's happening, and you could write a perfect math equation, which is kind of cool in a weird kind of way. I'm going to let you do that. I am going to pass on your homework. My TA has a hole punch on the wrong side. I would say this is the front page, this is the back. The answer key I forgot to Xerox, so I will put it in Google Classroom tonight if you want to take a look at it. I have to do it. I'm going to draw it. Sorry. You're asking me to chew into it. I'm getting very excited about seeing Thomas. He comes home Thursday night. This scrawny butt. This scrawny. So here's what I got on this one. I'm going to come do this really quick. Everyone's sleeping. It's Tuesday. We're all sleeping. I'm going to do it really quick and I'll finish passing these out. It's reflected, so you better start off with a nice fat negative. He is stretched by 4. Boom. He's vertically shifted to the left, which means, ooh, this is where it gets tricky for me. Left is this way, but it goes in opposite. -2 and then -3. How did I do? Does that look right? Yeah? This is, honest to God, the easiest homework you'll do all year. Like, it's so easy. Like, you could do the back part, like, in seconds. Yeah. Because I don't like you, it's a personal thing. She thinks I'm kidding, I'm not kidding. It's nothing. She's like, okay, Nick, we're not telling anymore.
Yeah.
Homework, you know. She's about to kill me. I think it could go either way. I feel like, oh, it could go. Let's see. So it is reflected and it's shifted. It shifts up. Perfect. That's it. Nice, nice. Hey, yes.
I have a question
Yes.
on that one.
I have an answer.
If it was shifted to the left,
So left
wouldn't
means.
it be positive?
Oh, you're right. Did I mess that up? Guys, thanks for telling me. I hate you this class. You guys are so mean to me. You know what? Nicely done. I like the way that she channeled my mistake. Bye, Manya. Sorry, baby.